In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at the controls available for how fields are rendered in a view display. Right now, we're looking at the configuration options for the upcoming events view, and we're specifically on the block display configuration. Let's scroll down and take a look at the preview for this particular block. What we see are that the fields are listed here, the title field and the event date and time field. The title field is simply linked to the content, and the date and time field is displayed using the site's default medium format, which uses the 24-hour clock. I'd like us to make a couple of changes to this. First, I'd like the title field to have a header tag around it, specifically the H3 header tag, so that when the HTML renders, it has good semantic markup. And second, in the date field, I'd like to make sure that there's a label there telling the user what that particular field is representing, and that uses the 12-hour clock, since that's how we're displaying time on this particular site. So let's scroll back up to the configuration area, and we'll start by clicking on the title field. The first thing I want to pay attention to is that I am using override. While my other displays do not use fields, I still want to make sure that all the changes that I make here only impact my block display. So I'm going to make sure that this is still saying for this block override. I don't want a label on my title field, so I'm going to leave that as it is. You'll see here that I can also choose to exclude this field from the display. While it might seem odd to have a field in your fields list but then exclude it from the display, this is something that is used frequently when constructing more advanced views. You may need the information from a particular field available to be rewritten into another field further down the list. Or you may have other reasons for wanting the field information available but not visible. The title field is currently linked to the content, and we want to leave this as it is. If we were adding an image field, then it wouldn't link to content by default, and we might want to tell it to do so. The next option here is a collapsed field set for style settings, and this has to do with how the field is rendered in HTML in the view. Let's go ahead and open this up. I'm going to scroll up a little bit, and I want to check the box for Customize Field HTML because I want this field to be rendered as a header. I want good semantic markup on every element on my site. So the HTML element I'm going to choose here is going to be a header level 3 because I happen to know that the block title will be rendered as a header level 2. Let's scroll down a little bit further here and take a look at the No Results Behavior field set. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to scroll down and find Hide if empty. Now, the title field will never be empty because that needs to exist on a piece of content. But it's always a good idea to still check off the Hide if empty option under No Results Behavior, unless, of course, you want the field to display even if it is empty. For example, you may want to have other text showing in the No Results text. Scrolling down a little bit further, rewrite results can also be incredibly valuable. Override the output of this field with custom text allows you to make some significant changes to the actual way that this field is rendered. We click on that. Let me scroll down a little bit and show you that there's this replacement patterns. If I expand that, you'll see that I have some values that I can make use of. These are values that exist further up in the field chain, and I might want to actually combine a number of values into one field. So there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of what I can do. This is very powerful. But for now, I'm going to leave this unchecked. I don't actually want to rewrite the results on this particular field. Once you're happy with your settings, you'll click the large Apply This Display button at the bottom of this modal window. Now I'm going to scroll down to the preview and see what those changes look like. We can see that the text is larger and bold because it has the header 3 tag applied to it. Next, we're going to make some edits to the event date field. I'm going to scroll up here and click on event date. I know that I want the words event date to appear before the text, but I'm not actually going to use create a label. I could use that and then put a label in there, but I'm not actually going to use this option. I'm going to rewrite this field and how it renders. The date format that we want is custom format that we wanted for our site, which is the time with the 12-hour clock. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to scroll down to rewrite results. I'm going to open that up, and select Override the output of this field with custom text. The text I'm going to use is date and time, colon, and then from the replacement patterns, I'm going to find the event date. I'll copy that and then paste it right here. Perhaps I want date and time to be bold, so I'm going to use some HTML in here. I'll wrap the label in strong text. Keep in mind that other options that I have here are to include some of the other fields that are in this particular display. I could, for example, use the title token here and then have it say will take place at date and time, and that will all render on the page. As with the other display that we have, we also want the no results behavior to hide if empty. We don't want anything to display if there's no date and time on our event. Once we're happy with all of these settings, we'll click the Apply this display button. And now we'll scroll down and take a look at what this looks like. If we're happy with this, then we can go ahead and save our view. Scrolling up to the top, I just want to point out once more, because it's really something that I can't point out enough. If you don't save your changes in your view, then they will not exist once you navigate away from here. Right now, the block display has a little star next to it telling me that there are unsaved changes. And there's a warning box up at the top reiterating that point. So I'll go ahead and save this. In this lesson, we briefly saw how powerful the field controls are in the user interface. There is a lot that we can do with just the settings in this environment, and this power should be used with care. It is helpful to understand basic HTML when playing with these settings, and the best practice is to use semantic markup that makes sense, rather than to just randomly apply any HTML to get the desired look that you want. If the proper semantic markup does not render the look that you're trying to go for, then you'll use your theme to make it look the way that you want it to look.